Jadon Sancho's whole life, all 20 years of it, has been one proving ground after another. Not just about being the best, but by making a statement and leaving no doubt about how talented he is. If anyone is the real-life version of FIFA's Volta mode, it's him, which is why he was willing to be at the center of it. Make no mistake about it, Sancho is a street footballer, and that will always be vital to his upbringing and his play style. He even said so himself in this interview.
So what's your second move?
Megs, isn't it?
Megs?
Would you class that as a score? Everyone likes when I play and I'm like...
Have you done any in the first team, yet?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow, they're gonna hate you, bro.
My first game, isn't it?
Take time with that, bro. You know when people nutmeg me, that
Yeah, I
was
realised they don't like it.
Have you nutmegged anyone in training and they've got mad?
Yeah, the captain.
Of what team?
No, Dortmund.
Who's-
And Man City.
What is it?
Yeah.
Reckless.
Born to Trinidadian parents in Camberwell, South London, Sancho's upbringing was found in the southeast borough of Kennington, where cage football in various parks in his neighborhood, including the Blue Park and the concrete of the Fredericks Adventure Playground, is where he spent the majority of time until age 7. There's something to these parts of South London. In 2017, The Guardian estimated that 15% of all English footballers in the Premier League hail from a 10 square mile radius in the south and the southeast of London. This number, with the likes of Sancho and childhood friend Reece Nelson, who grew up in the Aylesbury estate right next to Kennington, is bound to go up. Sancho hit the streets as early as age 6, and him and Nelson would go on to win the Suffolk Youth Games together at age 10, defeating 31 other boroughs and scoring 24 goals between the two of them. Sancho credits the five-a-side cage games to develop his natural feel for dribbling and spatial awareness, something his coaches later would all realize. Dan Machike, Sancho's manager at the U16 England national team, said while academies develop and nurture players, they already inherit about 90 to 95% of the player. And basically, Sancho's 90% was far more technical and refined than anyone at his age group. His cage refinement quickly made waves around the neighborhood, and at age 8 joined Watford's youth academy. Sancho would commute 3 times a week to the academy for development, something made difficult by the fact that it was 30 miles away and could take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours round trip. Sancho always admired Ronaldinho, wanting people to not only know him, but having the ability to inspire others. Lewis Lancaster, one of Sancho's first coaches at Watford, said that during class teachers would tell Sancho to get off of YouTube, but as soon as the teacher left, the Ronaldinho and the Neymar highlights would come right back on. He used the streets as a training pitch and a trial and error session to see what would work and what wouldn't. For Lancaster, most things with Sancho seemed to work due to his ability to be fearless, to take on people, and to create. At age 11, Sancho moved in with his aunt in Northolt and took the 14-mile journey by taxi daily to the Harefield Academy in Uxbridge, West London. Harefield is a partner school and a sports center academy that partnered with Watford, and many of the Watford coaches like Lancaster were present at the school on a daily basis. Sancho had previously turned down Arsenal at age 8, citing the fact that he didn't have any family in the area and wanted to make the commute shorter. At Harefield, Sancho was developing rapidly, doing ridiculous things such as scoring 6 goals and a half back in 2011. Sancho rose in the ranks at Watford, playing a level up as a 13-year-old with the U15s. While there wasn't a big internal hype at Watford about Sancho, Lancaster and others quickly changed tune when he started to become so good that rival clubs like Manchester City, Chelsea, and Arsenal were after him again. Machike and Lancaster were both stressing how unusual it was for a street footballer who was playing unorganized ball could still be so dynamic going up and down the flanks with pace. They needed to let him play to his strengths, and it was evident it worked. At age 14, Sancho was so advanced, he started to regularly feature in Watford's U18 setup. Men said he was closely tracking his progress and were ahead of other clubs like Chelsea and Arsenal, who only had mild interest, largely because Jadon and his family wanted him to stay away from the area he grew up in. Sancho described it himself as the hood, with many people around him ending up in much worse situations than he did. One example is the rap group the Harlem Spartans from the Kennington area, whom Sancho knows many of the members. 2 of them were recently killed and 2 ended up in jail, leading Sancho to react on Instagram when one of the members was killed in tragic fashion. In March 2015, Sancho made the gutsy trip away from home as a 14, soon-to-be 15-year-old, and Watford would eventually get around £1 million compensation for him. Lancaster and others described Sancho as very single-minded and feeling City was the next step for him. In a BBC interview, Lancaster stated, quote, "He just left. I didn't even know he was gone until someone told me," end quote. Sancho's development was continuing with world-class facilities and training at City, and his commitment and linear focus to be the best made perfect sense, despite critics who at the time wondered if he had enough pure athletic ability to make it at the next level. Make no mistake though, The drive and determination festered at a young age, blended with his Watford training, led him to be better prepared for this moment. One example is when Sancho outlasted several of his City counterparts in the beep conditioning test, which is an interval sprint test to measure your capacity to exude energy in quick bursts. The two best were Sancho and England international Phil Foden, and it's no mistake that these two are now seen as the two brightest U21 talents in the country. In his time at City with Foden and Brahim Diaz, now at Real Madrid, Sancho diversified his skill set to move better both with and without the ball, making him more unpredictable to defenses. He was flashing real promise with his ability to take people on and to always be involved in goal creation. He was playing against some of the best youngsters around, including here against Mason Mount in the FA Youth Cup final. He had 15 goals and 6 assists for Man City's U18s, and quickly rose the ranks as a 16 and 17-year-old. But his frustration started to grow when he was only making 6 appearances in the UEFA Youth League, and received inconsistent playing time with the U23s in the Premier League too, which without context would be kind of crazy considering he was just 16 and ahead of most kids his age. He was too good for the U18s, got promoted to the U23s, and then was randomly dropped again for a match back down to the U18s. While he did finish out the season at the U23 level, he knew how good he was becoming and legitimately felt he was ready for at least some appearances in the first team at the end of 2017. He had 3 goals and 2 assists in 7 appearances in the U23s to close out the season, and immediately made it clear what his level of talent was. The problem was Pep Guardiola was trying to slowly develop him and bring him along, but Sancho knew better than anyone that his track to the first team was too slow. He needed another challenge with the senior squad, and was validated twice later in the year. One of the reasons he felt he was starting to blossom was with England in both the UEFA U17 Euros and the U17 World Cup. After his days with Machike were over at the U16 level, one in which he had 6 goals in 8 friendly games, his U17 performances is when the world started to take notice. At the U17 European Championships in May, Sancho had 5 goals and 5 assists and was named player of the tournament. He was really starting to show his skill and supremely direct style, and assisted several goals to the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi and others. The talent was there, and it was also time for him to move up a level. England lost to Spain on penalties in the final, but this tournament performance left no doubt about what was to come, doing it against the best players of his age group. But at this point, many people still didn't rate him as the best young English prospect, and Sancho's performances at City were internally drawing praise for his consistency and focus, and him and Foden were both miles ahead of the rest of the youth talents, but most people still rated Foden as having a much higher ceiling. City had seen enough in the Euros to offer Sancho his first professional contract at age 17, a £30,000 a week deal that would see him join the senior first team on their preseason tour in the United States. But like when he left Watford, he was always looking at the quickest possible way to challenge himself against better competition. He rejected City's offer and stopped showing up to training as he was examining his next club. Borussia Dortmund and sporting director Michael Zorc had been tracking the budding yet underused British market since Sancho was 13, and Sancho chose Borussia Dortmund over other clubs like Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Dortmund spent £7 million, and now Sancho is the 8th most valuable player in the world at an estimated £105 million. So what happened? If you ask people at Manchester City, they thought Sancho was getting bad advice from people to leave. After all, a young English player going to Germany was not a common route, and some saw it as reckless. Lancaster and England manager Gareth Southgate called it a, quote, brave move for someone at that age, and Sancho cites Raheem Sterling as an inspiration to him, someone who he didn't get a chance to play with at City, but with England, he will in the future. Guardiola was on record saying he felt Sancho was not patient or committed to see if he could wait and seize the opportunity, but instead, he was off to Germany to do just that. Sancho started off with Dortmund's U19 and their Dortmund 2 team, but his first season in Dortmund saw him deal with numerous injuries. Regardless, the team was impressed with his mindset, and the dressing room quickly saw Sancho as someone not coming in thinking he was better than everyone, but someone who was fiercely focused and eager to improve. Sancho was called for the U17 World Cup for England in September, and scored 3 goals and 2 assists in their first 3 group stage games. He was called back to Dortmund after the group stage, as Dortmund had seen enough to warrant him ready for the first team. It took a while after injury rehabilitation, and after only 9 youth appearances for Dortmund, Sancho got his first senior start on January 14, 2018 at the age of 17. He scored his debut goal a week later and would play 7 matches the full 90 minutes out of 12 appearances despite numerous injuries. Lucien Favre, known for developing youth, was hired in summer of 2018, and Sancho's meteoric rise was just beginning. At first, Sancho was coming off the bench for Christian Pulisic, but Pulisic missing 4 games early in the season led to Sancho seizing the role. Just 6 years after leaving home for Watford, he was now starting to become a regular for Dortmund. One of Favre's first changes to Sancho's role was featuring him more on the right flank, in addition to playing him on his more natural left. As I'll mention later, this move will be a big part as to why he's developed so much. From October 6 on, he started all but 2 matches, registering 12 goals and 14 assists in 34 Bundesliga appearances. He led the Bundesliga in assists at age 19, and had the second most goal contributions only behind Robert Lewandowski. He started 33 games at right wing in all competitions, a stark difference from the years prior. He had 1 more assist than Lionel Messi on the year, and had another breakthrough this year also. He received his first England national team call-up to the senior level against the United States, registering an assist, and later getting another assist against Czech Republic in a Euro qualifier. The 1920 season saw Sancho register 17 goals and 16 assists in the Bundesliga, seeing his goal contribution in line with some of the world's best players at just 20 years of age. By any advanced metric, he was much improved from the year prior, and started a handful of games at left wing, attacking mid, and on the right flank. Many of his assist contributions were from horizontal passes into the box, but he was among the upper echelon of players in one-on-one scenarios and dribble moves, which he's always been a central figure of his game going back to his youth. Some of his advanced stats like expected goals and goal-creating actions saw Sancho rated first in the league, and this is all coming well before his prime as a player. His future likely lies on the right wing, and for the rest of the Euro qualifiers, he mainly played on the right, although he did have 2 goals and an assist playing on the left for 1 game. The bottom line is that he is dangerous from anywhere, is now just as dangerous without the ball, and has enough pace to make his tricks from the street that much more dangerous. While Phil Foden will just now be getting regular first-team action next season for Manchester City, Sancho has 2 full years starting and being amongst the elite in world football. His next move, other than being a lock to feature in Euro 2021 and the 2022 World Cup, looks to be Manchester United. A hefty fee will be paid out, but Sancho gives him someone who is elite at holding up possession for creation chances, something that hasn't always been there for United on the right flank. Sancho adapts to every new stop relatively quickly, and I expect him to be just as potent at Manchester United. Could some of his stats be inflated playing in the attack-minded Bundesliga? Possibly, but if Mason Greenwood is having a dynamic season at age 18, a more refined Sancho can do the same, which makes United a threat to score 2 goals minimum every game. And if history is any indication, Sancho himself knows better than anyone when the time for the next challenge is. In his young but growing legacy, he's already led the likes of Reiss Nelson, Reece Oxford, Robbie Matondo, and most recently Jude Bellingham as young English prospects to uproot for Germany. From Kennington to Old Trafford in just 13 years, Sancho is just getting started. The next decade should be very, very exciting, not only for Manchester United fans, but for football fans in general.